This is the best day of my life. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and I am very, very, very happy because today I get to make a video that I have wanted to make for years. Next time on Death Battle, after Killua vs. Misaka, we have Stitch from Disney's Lilo and Stitch versus Rocket Raccoon from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I literally made a video 3 weeks ago talking about my most wanted death battles ever, and I thought maybe one of them has a chance for this season, who knows? I did not expect my #1 most wanted on the list to be the earliest one to happen from that list. These are literally two of my favorite characters in any media ever. Stitch is my favorite Disney movie character, period. Like, it's been that way since kindergarten. Rocket is my favorite Guardian to have ever guardianed. It's been that way since before the movies. I recently graduated university, and my parents got me this as an early graduation present because they know how much I love this guy. I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 twice in theaters already. I might see it again just to celebrate this. I cried both times. One of them was with friends. That was not good. I have both of these guys in my Disney Infinity collection, and you better believe they are front and center. I've made multiple videos both about this fight and that involves discussions surrounding this fight. My Discord literally just did a Stitch versus Rocket thumbnail contest, and we did it before we even knew this was coming. Hell, I asked a goddamn Magic 8 Ball on Discord months ago if this fight would happen this season, and it said yes. I should have listened to it. And to top it all off, I have this guy. I have had this guy since I was 5 years old. I still have him. This is nothing short of a dream come true. As for the cryptic zodiac symbol, I'm assuming that this is the beaker and the spiky ball since they're both experiments and Stitch has spikes on his back, And if that is the case, then it might mean we're not getting Bowser versus Eggman this season, which does disappoint me, but personally, I'm fine with that trade-off. I seriously cannot tell you all how happy I am that this is happening. I'm still in utter shock that it's actually happening, that this is real life. These characters, this matchup, this comparison, it all means so much to me. I love these guys to death. The fact that I'm actually going to see Death Battle talk about these guys and have them fight each other, it's the best thing in the world. Part of me doesn't even want to predict this episode. Part of me just wants to be like, yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the fight. However, the debate side of things is another part of why I like this matchup so much, so I think it's only fair that I talk about who I think may win. So let's get to it. So before we get started, I do want to say that I think Death Battle will be including all of the extra material for Stitch, including the anime series. And for Rocket, of course, they're not just going to look at the movies, they're going to be looking at the main 616 comic line for his abilities, so just keep that in mind while you're watching this. Yeah. So really, the way this looks to me is that these characters have 4 main advantages over the other, like 4 advantages each, and I'm going to break them down. Let's start with Stitch. The first big advantage that I think Stitch has over Rocket is durability. This guy's durability is through the roof. He has survived being inside of multiple black holes, and even took a bomb point blank that blew up a black hole, and he also just has a crap ton of resistances to a crap ton of things. Rocket is durable, but a lot of it is not really like consistently destructive stuff. It's more like he offhandedly gets hit by a really strong guy, but either way, I don't think it compares to Stitch in terms of durability. I think he has a pretty notable advantage there. The second advantage that I think Stitch has is physical strength. He's been able to damage characters like, other aliens or his cousins that realistically should have very similar physical capabilities to him, and he can even use his power surge ability to increase his strength even further to take on even stronger aliens like Experiment 666. And frankly, Rocket doesn't really have anything like that. A lot of his power comes from his firepower, like his technology, which we'll get into later, don't worry. But in terms of physical strength, Stitch definitely has him beat. The third main advantage that I think Stitch has is thinking speed and just general thinking capabilities. Jumba gave him a brain that operates faster than a supercomputer, and we've seen him use this to adapt to his surroundings very easily, to learn new things on the fly, just to be able to take advantage of his advantages very, very well. Rocket is smart, but he doesn't have that kind of brain. He's not that kind of experiment. environment, so I definitely think Stitch edges him out there. And in terms of the last main advantage I think Stitch has, it's 1v1 fighting experience. Rocket does have 1v1 fighting experience, but a lot of his fighting experience really comes from working with a team, or at least working with Groot, who acts as his muscle. But of course, Stitch is kind of his own muscle, and he has a lot of experience fighting aliens that are very comparable to him, and a lot of the time he's doing this all on his own. So those are the primary advantages I would say Stitch has over Rocket. But now let's talk about Rocket's advantages. First and foremost, I'd want to say that Rocket has the versatility advantage, at least from a quantity perspective. Rocket has way more weaponry than Stitch, including a ton of sonic, electric, and energy guns. He also has a wide variety of cannons, rocket launchers, missile launchers, grenades, a jetpack, a holographic device, other little gizmos, and way more than I have time to go over. That's a lot of tech, and Stitch does have his own arsenal. He's got his natural form that includes 4 arms that he can use to either wield 4 of his blasters, or he can even use extendable claws. That's something he can do as well. He also has like a spin dash like maneuver where he like curls into a ball and rolls around, which is kind of cool. And he also has super senses to some degree. He does have some other abilities that I'll bring up a little later. It'll make more sense when we get there. But in terms of a quantity perspective, I'd want to say that Rocket is just more versatile. He just has more. The second advantage I want to say that Rocket has is general firepower. Not only can Rocket's grenades blow up an enormous font, but he also supposedly has a phasic cannon that can kill a weakened Thanos at 100% capacity, or at least that's what he claimed. Although we do see him use it on him, I believe, and it does hurt him quite a bit. It at least does some damage. So whether or not it's able to kill him, that may have just been some talk, but it can still do damage, and either way, I don't believe we've seen Stitch's weapons do anything like that explicitly. The third advantage that I'd say that Rocket has is maneuverability, simply because he has a jetpack. And the fourth advantage I think that Rocket has is just general intelligence. Like, again, Stitch can certainly think faster, but Rocket just, knows more about like engineering and space, travel. I feel like just in terms of general knowledge, Rocket is superior there specifically. And when it comes to speed, I'd want to say they're about even. They've both dodged lasers, they've both operated spaceships that could potentially moving at massively faster than light speeds. I don't think there's going to be a huge difference there, although of course Stitch can still think faster and Rocket can still move through the air with his jetpack. So it seems to me like the advantages here are mostly really definitive and somewhat clear cut, so figuring out exactly what each character has over the other, that's not the difficult part. For me, what's difficult is trying to determine which set of advantages is more likely to give that character the win. And that's part of why I love this fight so much, because a lot of the time, if you're in the versus debate community, you can just easily figure out who has what advantages over the other, and then that just gives away who wins. But here, I don't think it necessarily does that, because I feel either character could feasibly win this fight, that they have the tools to win this fight. It just depends on how it goes. Now, one thing I will say is that if Rocket hadn't shown the ability to kill someone like Thanos or an injured Thanos with his tech, then I'd be perfectly comfortable just ending the video here and saying that I think Stitch would win. Because at that point, I don't think Rocket would have the capability to kill Stitch before Stitch got the opportunity to get in close and rip him to shreds. Because I think it's fair to say that if Stitch can keep Rocket close, even for a little bit of time, he just demolishes him, completely overpowers him. However, if Rocket does indeed have the ability to kill Stitch with only a few good hits, and if he can use his jetpack to maneuver around him and stay out of Stitch's reach, avoiding his physical strength, then I think that honestly puts Rocket in a good position. Like, it's a game of keep away for him, but that doesn't necessarily mean he would have the lower hand. It's a game he could win if he remains out of reach the whole time. Now, does Rocket 100% Stitch easily? Well, again, it's tough because he harmed a weakened Thanos specifically. And I could see Death Battle take it either way. They could say, well, it was a weakened Thanos, which means it's implied that it can't hurt a regular Thanos, so we couldn't know how powerful these attacks are. Or they could say, sure, he was weakened, but even if Thanos was only at 1% capacity, it would still be enough to kill Stitch, for example. Because as durable as Stitch is, he's not as durable as Thanos. And that would be a pretty straightforward win con for Rocket if Death Battle concludes that his tech, his strongest tech, is powerful enough to do so, to kill him in a few good hits. And again, with that maneuverability that Stitch doesn't have, it really becomes a question of, can Stitch get in close before he gets killed, or will Rocket land a killing blow while keeping his distance before that happens? Well, one thing I should point out is that Stitch does have things that theoretically could help to counter this power maneuverability combo that Rocket has. For instance, he is shown capable of easily catching and redirecting energy beams, possibly as fast as Rocket's. Granted, maybe not as powerful as Rocket's, high-end, strongest stuff, and not all of his stuff is energy-based anyway, but still, it's something important to note. It means he can counter a lot of Rocket's ranged attacks, the energy attacks. Another thing that Stitch has is various kinds of super spit, one of which can actually disrupt technology if it gets on it. So again, that's another good counter that Stitch has, theoretically. Again, though, we'd have to get semi-close to Rocket in order for that to work, and Rocket has a lot of tech, remember that. Although granted, Stitch would only have to short-circuit the tech that would really pose a threat to him, and Rocket doesn't have much of that in quantity, even if we give the Thanos-hurting weapon the benefit of the doubt. And one other thing I want to bring up, because I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, Stitch's guns have proven capable of hurting characters that are presumably in the same ballpark of durability as him, such as Leroy and other aliens, as I said before. And again, Rocket doesn't really have that kind of durability, consistently speaking. So even though Rocket's strongest tech might be stronger than Stitch's tech, realistically, they both have the capability of overcoming the other's durability from a distance. Whereas when they're up close, Stitch is really the only one with the upper hand. Granted, with Rocket's maneuverability, I'd still probably say that he's better than Stitch is from a distance, but even still, it's not like Stitch is helpless at all, especially if their attack speed and reaction speed is relatively even. So at this point, I don't really have much more to say about what these characters can or cannot do. Maybe Death Battle will include their spaceships to some degree, but I definitely don't see them having the fight end with them in their spaceship, so I don't see it playing a huge role in the long run, if any, I will still say, I still will hold to it, that Rocket's combination of power and maneuverability puts him in a very winnable position if he can avoid Stitch's physical strength for an extended period of time, and if he can decently kill Stitch depending on, how you interpret his strongest tech. If he only had one of those two things, like just power or just maneuverability, then I definitely want to say that Stitch would be able to pull off a kill in time, but the fact that he has both of them makes it very tricky for me. You could make the argument that Rocket could just one-shot Stitch before Stitch can do anything, if you give Rocket's best tech the benefit of the doubt. However, you could also argue that Stitch's abilities, like his energy redirecting, his technology-harming spit, his guns that could probably do some real damage to Rocket, combined with his general speed, durability, stamina, all put together, could allow him to evade, defend, and fire back for, long enough to get the one opening he needs, because he only needs one. Rocket definitely has more control over how this battle goes to start, but I think Stitch clearly has the capabilities to undo that control, at least eventually. The question then, of course, becomes what's more likely to play out more times than not: Stitch physically being able to take advantage of his counters, or him not having enough time before Rocket hits him with a big hit from his, highest caliber weaponry. Well, we also have to remember that Stitch has a supercomputer plus brain, and has used it to easily read his situation and adapt to it pretty much immediately. So Stitch is going to start taking advantage of his counters and, try to change the state of the battle as soon as he knows that that's what he needs to do, and we know that he's capable of doing that. So yeah, I really do think you can argue that. And just basing off of what Death Battle said for other debates, and I think back specifically to fights like Ryuko versus Shadow or Lex Luthor versus Doom, at least in their their conclusions, what they said in the conclusion, if there's a character who has either the ability to one-shot or just the general advantage to start, but then the other character has the clear or logical ability to turn that around or undo it, they tend to go with the latter because they want to incorporate as many abilities into the debate as they possibly can. And I really think that does apply here because, again, Stitch just needs to get in close once and it's all over. Rocket can't compete with his physical strength or durability up close, whereas both of them can really do some damage to each other from afar, not just Rocket. So I could easily be wrong. I think either character could feasibly win. You could easily argue for either character winning, and I love both of these characters to death. I love this fight, but as of right now, I am gonna barely, just barely, side with Stitch. I know that Rocket's got a lot of supporters in this debate, just like Stitch does. This of all fights could be my first incorrect guess out of this season, who knows. But as you guys know, this fight is way more to me than just, who I think wins. Either way, I'm so happy that this fight is actually happening, and I know I'm going to enjoy it a great deal, literally no matter what happens. It's just so cool. I am not ready to see either of these characters die. That's actually going to be really, really hard. But at least right now, I am very, very pleased, very happy, no matter what. I want to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about this fight? Are you excited for it? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you enjoy this prediction, please give it a like. Maybe even subscribe if you could too. That'd be amazing. That would really help the channel out. But no matter what you do, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Most wanted. Let's fucking go. See you guys later.